So welcome to my talk. I will be talking about design for something different. So why this talk? Mostly because we need to start talking about design on this kind of conferences a lot more. I think it's something that we all feel that it's needed within the ecosystem, experience, user-facing, user-centric, whatever you call it. We need more design. And then again, yeah. So every now and then, we hear these things all over the place. And just by this own conference, I'm the only one talking about design. So let's try to bring this in the table. And that's why I'm doing this talk, mainly because of that. So if I manage to do this talk right now, it's already a win. Because we need to think about design. So that's it. I'm done. Thank you. No, I'm kidding. So if you go whatever Twitter, whatever podcast, whatever publication, you see a lot of things talking shit about experience, UX, it's broken, it's not ready for the user, it's not that thing. So this is why I'm doing this thing. This is so, okay. So I end up giving a title to this, kind of in the question, try to answer this question during this talk. Let's see if I can do this. So mass adoption, it's kind of, yes, design, it's the last frontier. And we all assume that it's the very end, it's the users, we are working for the users. In the end, we are building products, we are building infrastructure, whatever you call it. But some of them might think, no, the tech is not ready. Probably might not be the final frontier. Probably might not be that. And so in the end, it depends. Depends on what you're looking for. So let's try to unpack this a little bit. But to start, though, hello, my name is Nuno. I came from Lisbon. I've been a designer for over 20 years in a lot of different things. Like my white hair on my face tells you that I'm a bit older than some of you, so I have some experience. And that's why I'm trying to bring that to a new area, which is the Web3 space. So this is where I spend all my day. I work at Ethereum.org. I built this platform. This is a community-driven learning platform for Ethereum. It's well known. I hope everyone here knows and been there at some point and learned something from it. I really, truly hope that you keep going there and join the community, help us build the better community-driven platform out there. So this is me. So back to the topic. So let's identify what is a frontier in this perspective. So frontier is something that it's on the edge to be explored, something that is new, something that we don't know the outcome, that somehow you want to feel that it's the next thing that you want to break, that you want to explore, whatever that is. So that's what I call the frontier. And yeah. Design. So there's a bunch of different ways of defining what is design, but I just chosen a bunch of keywords. So problem solving, functionality, aesthetics, user-centered, innovation, communication. So this fits on the big picture of what is design. So in that sense, both of them might work well, but with the lens of Web3, we might add that design can help on the learning curve, on like balancing security and usability, what it's secure, like how can that be useful and how can users engage with more secure products. Educating, so we can help a lot of educating. And sometimes design is not on the educating phase, so there's a lot of new things on the field. And trust, transparency, and honesty. So that's another field that probably design is not really what you think of as a designer. But and even on the honest part, I just wanted to bring something to you guys. Do you know what this is? Do you know Dieter Hammes? Famous designer, German, from Braun. He started the 10 principles of good design. This is not the topic of it. I just wanted to bring one analogy because in the end, the number 6, it's about honesty. So somehow when we talk about trust your UI and put the products, honest products in front of the users, somewhere down the line in the 60s, way back, someone was talking about this anymore. And just for the reference, that's why he was important. Like we all use, probably if you have an iPhone on your pocket, you have a Dieter Hammes based calculator for sure, because it's where Johnny Ive inspired all the products. So again, and then this is a design talk, so I need to have an Apple reference. So that's why. And more of that, like I had 2 references. This was my second reference from the beginning. So that's an aside joke. Okay, back to the topic. I wanted to try, if it is a frontier, normally you understand like a field, like a layer, something that you can build upon or be on top of it. So what I see is that design is kind of the window. It's kind of the thing that you need to put in front of all the users, and something that we don't discuss anymore, we don't use that much. So you have the code, the data, the chain, whatever, like all those big words, all those big tech, that it's like the backbone of everything. But we need to talk, we need to spend more time thinking about the users. Who are the users? Who are we working for? And then, in the end, behind it, there's another layer, which is all the ethos, all the values that we stand upon and we build upon, and we think that they are the true, rightful way of building products within the Web3 environment. So, again, this was the inspiration. Do you know the cover from the Pink Floyd? So it's another pop reference there. Yeah, funny. So, I have a few topics, might be assorted, might not be connected with each other, but I wanted to bring them in order probably to pick a little bit your brains on some ways of thinking differently about design and about incorporating design within your field, whether you're a developer, researcher, core developer, whatever you're doing within the field might be one way of doing. So I will bring some topics, and this is one of them. First one, Web 2 to Web 3 can bring disruption. And I come up with this image. Did you saw the movie Poor Things? Just went to the Oscars. And if you didn't, like, there's I will not do a spoiler, but there's a bunch of animals that are like half of one animal, half of the other. And sometimes this is how I feel some of the products that we are shipping right now. It's kind of, you're using the browser, and inside the browser there's a MetaMask thing coming up that it doesn't feel like within the product, but it's a wallet, but it connects to the other thing. So when I was building the presentation, this was what came to my mind. Probably I saw the film recently, I was mind-grabbed. I really think this is how I feel what we are shipping right now. But it's what it is. The tech is not ready, but design needs to adapt, so somehow it feels a little bit weird, this thing. Another thing that we as designers need to take it, that's new patterns, new ways of interacting with products will emerge from this. And for Web 2, this is one example that I always bring to. I'm not sure if you remember, but back in the day, Twitter was a good company. Do you remember Twitter has a good company? Yeah, it was cool. It has an API, but they had only the website back then, and everything, all the apps were made by third parties. So there's a bunch of value. Do you remember Tweety, TweetDeck? All those were independent startups that build upon the API. And that drove innovation. And the best example is this. Do you know that pull to refresh was born in a Twitter app called Tweety back then? And it was against the rules, against Apple rules. They had to fight to put that. And now we take it for granted. Like, now it's built within the APIs of the operating system on your phone, either Android or iPhone. But this thing was a new thing, was widely discussed in the design field. Was widely discussed in the design field. Is it good? Is it bad? Because before pull to refresh, you had to have a button on top to refresh the feed. Like it was like a circle with a, like you would refresh the feed like on email or whatever feed you had a button. And some guy like, why don't I do refresh? This is a new pattern. This is a new thing. And I'm sure that within Web3, we will come up with new patterns that will become a norm in a way, because we are dealing with emerging technology, new ways of interacting with code, with the experiences. So we need to be open to do this. This will not pass any user testing at this point, and the users would say, oh, this doesn't feel natural, this is not my way of doing. So we need to be ready to new patterns emerging. Another thing that normally I refer as an example, it's the car. Like, users don't know what that is blockchain underneath it. It's kind of a statement that I don't agree fully. So they don't need to know everything about blockchain, but they need to know a little bit about blockchain. In the car analogy, it's the same thing. We all know what cars is. We all know that's a motor under the hood, but I'm guessing a lot of us don't know how how the engine really works, like what pieces are there, what blocks does it compose the motor. But we all drive. We know what a wheel is, we know what the brake is. So it's kind of the analogy that I do relate to users, that they need to know something in order to know what they are doing, the risks involved. Probably they don't need to know on detail which block it is, which signature, whatever thing it's happening. So the analogy here for the cars is kind of something that I always bring up, to understand that there's a middle ground, and you need to educate the users at some point, and we need to find what is that middle ground. Yeah. The next one, it's probably because of the meme thing that's going on. It's kind of too much, but I'm tired of being funny. I'm tired of jokes. I'm tired of user interfaces that doesn't bring trust. There's a bunch of apps out there that they don't portray that trust that you need for the users to be able to exchange funds, do whatever they need to do. So let's stop doing this once and for all. And we as designers have probably a better job to do this, because we need to step up our game and start do things more credible. So we have a job to do here. Yeah. Another one, this is probably for devs. As a designer, it's really hard to navigate the space. So probably this might be one of the reasons that we don't have the user experience that we might expect at some point. Look at this. If I want to understand what's going on, if I want to incorporate some new thing within my products, how can I find what's going on, what's happening, what's going to be shipped, what's going to next upgrade? How can I, not a technical-driven guy, more user-centric, design-centric, can navigate this kind of thing? This is a good example. This is the way it is. It's really hard to do community-driven approach at the same time, but probably we need to have, we as designers have fault here as well. So we need to understand better what's happening. So the example, we need to communicate more in the core devs, with more user-centric research approach. So we need to have more of that. The other one, it's kind of, this is a personal peeve, probably a personal thing. It's we've heard sometimes, my mother would not use this. This is too complex. But why should your mother use this? Probably this is for your kid. Probably we are targeting the wrong generation. So we are building the new frontier, we're new technology that will be adopted by the youngsters, not the elders. So we need to understand them. We need to understand what is the TikTok generation. How do they use the products? How do they engage with the data? How do they perceive what's happening? So there's a lot of things that goes on. And probably under this generation, the last one will be the one that will drive adoption in the end. So whenever I hear, oh, my mother will not use this, it's too complex, probably she is on the very end of the long tail. Probably the first adoption will be the kids. So we need to think the interfaces, we need to think the products for the kids, for the youngsters, for the one that is 14, 20, something around that. And we need to understand them that they grew up in the centralized company environment, where Spotify is their music, where probably they never bought a book or rarely read a book because they don't own books, they don't own things. And we want to give them ownership of stuff, of being ownership. So there's kind of a way of mixing stuff that we need to understand how to talk to them. So this is one of the things that probably we need to think while thinking products. The other one, it's the jargon. This is something that we at theteam.org always talk about, the learning perspective. How can we demystify some of the jargon? We need to be careful at some point, but we need to understand that the users will not understand what is this. Try to explain what is a DAO to someone that isn't outside. It's really hard to understand. So there's a bunch of tricks, analogies like I did with the car, using icons, and we need to be careful. That's why those two icons. We need to be careful about the schemorphic. Do you remember the schemorphic back in the Apple, the beginning? So the relationship between, I have kind of a thing with a wallet, the naming wallets, a wallet that is not a wallet, probably it's just to store your key, not quite a wallet. So the name wallet by itself, it's not the best. It's the best we came up with. I understand that, but probably not the best. Probably it's more close to a key than to a wallet. So as designers, we can step up a little bit and be more sure that all the metaphors that we use need to be the right ones. But it's important to demystify these words, understand how to explain them to someone that comes from the outside. The other one, it's more on the find users when they are. So we are in Switzerland, we are within ourselves. We talk a lot with ourselves. We are within a bubble. And we need to step up the bubble a lot more, go to other geographies, go to other countries, understand the needs, because they, in the end, they will be the drive for the adoption. So understand who are, in the end, those geographies, those needs, like third world countries, other problems. Understand what problems are we trying to solve with Web3 specifically, and not just going to because it's fun, it's tech, it's hard, like, and go on like that. So the 9th one, it's probably most for designers at this point, which is the design culture. We evaluate a lot of the things from Web 1, Web 2, and probably prior to that, and we need to stop a little bit to think that shipping products within Web 3, it's different. Thinking about the users, it's different. We need to understand those differences and incorporate it in our way of working. And probably something that I've been advocating even more, it's open source design, something that you don't talk. You have open source code, and the design still is in closed doors, still is developed by a few. You might use Figma, might ask for feedback, but probably you should share more the pain points, share what's happening. Like if you're building a wallet, probably share your Figma file at some point with the community, try to get a feedback, try to put that on the GitHub repo, why not? Close to the code, like if you want to inspect the code, why not inspect all the screens, all the layouts, all the flows, like who's using what? That's important as well. So why don't we do more of this? It will help bootstrap, probably, the conversation, will help drive adoption, will help new products emerge. Like, let's do this, has a community, has an open community. Like, why don't just code, just open source design as well? Let's open up the process. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. So in the end, I'm almost finishing. Yeah, design has the power to humanize and enhance the impact of new technologies. So this is something that I want to resonate in all of you. This is probably the motto of this talk. Like, let's use design to empower and bootstrap the technology and make it available to everyone. So in the end, my own thing, it's yes, design will be the last frontier. I'm not sure if we are there yet, but design will be the last frontier to mass adoption. And this is kind of what I wanted to bring to you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Nuno, from the Ethereum Foundation. Any questions? Already some hands up, so let's start there. Okay, yeah, thanks a million. I mean, for the people in the audience, specifically.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Great. Thanks for the awesome talk. It was really fun. Can you give me an example of a well-known app that did really well, and not Ethereum.org, and then one that did really bad?
Can I not do that? Yeah. No, because there's a lot of errors in, like, there's a lot of apps. It's really hard, but I don't want to pinpoint just one app, saying, "Oh, this is bad, this is good." I think it's not the place to be. I don't want to like talk shit about a specific experience here. I want to just keep it open-minded to everything. We all know some apps have a really bad user experience. Something is happening. Sometimes it's related to the code, and then it's not the design fault. The designer is doing the best. Like, it happens a lot. But I don't really like to pinpoint specific products. Like, oh, this is bad, this is good. I think this is not the place to do it.
Great.
In what sense?
Sorry, let me, because I mean, we hear you, but probably the people up there don't.
Yeah, maybe just a good practice. I don't know how even the renaming of one button helps really for the apps. Yeah.
I do, every conversation that I have out there, I think design is growing. Even here, I was talking yesterday with someone, it's talking about, oh, we adopt design, we think about design. I think everyone that is building some sort of interface, whatever that is, thinks about how it's used. But again, they first think about the product, tokenomics. So how can I make the tokenomics? How can I want to do this, and then the UI. And we need to change a little bit that practice. Probably get a designer in the room to begin with, to think about what you're doing. Even if it is hard for designers, and I speak for myself, a lot of my colleagues don't want to be there. Like this is like some of these talks that we've just seen, too technical. I think we as designers need to be here. And the other way around goes. Like you guys need to be close to designers as well and change ideas, because having a creative mind within your like small room, thinking about the product, thinking about like the core tokenomics of it, or whatever it's the flow of the user. Oh, I think this will be a good product. Let's build something like this. Oh, okay, but let me get a designer here first and start thinking about that. I think it will improve the flow, if it helps.
Okay, thanks for the talk, really interesting. I'm the lead designer at Aragon, so really feeling your sayings here, also about the open source thing. So one big question I have, how many designers are you at Ethereum?
Sorry?
How many designers are you at Ethereum Foundation?
A few, yeah. So in my team, there are 2 of us. There are a few more doing more communications, and PSE has a lot of them. So we do have a lot of designers on the research field, and they do amazing work.
Okay.
The previous talk from my colleague from the PSE, go to their websites and check all the projects that they are working on, and all of them have a designer in it. Yeah. So it's something that it is growing, and they are doing an amazing job.
Okay.
On the research side.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, like my side here is a little bit. There is a big discrepancy between designers and developers, as you mentioned, right? The know-how transformation, and also the process to get to a product or a protocol. Even like decisions in protocols are often like front-run before you even think about the experience itself. Let's say also the NetSpec documentation, right? Yeah. Where do you trust the information is coming from? And I really think like that's a big topic we need to
But again, that's why going back to the first slide. That's why I'm doing these talks in these events, because it's just opening the door, like putting in your minds. Probably you're a core researcher at some point. You're just mathematical geek that does stuff that I don't know probably, and probably you should think about design. Just talk with the designer at some point. Just get somewhere like how useful it is. How can you help me thinking about like, at least communicating what I'm doing and understand how can it be used. That's what PSE does within EF. But I know that a lot of other companies are building UX teams right now. So it's growing, but even so, we need to talk more about this. That's probably the purpose of being here. We need to talk more about the user and not the technology that much, even though it's important. Yeah.
Thank you very much for the talk. My question is about the role of security in the current design like journey of, I guess, blockchain apps and all that stuff. For example, obviously, like it was very cool how Twitter did the whole pull down refresh thing. But when we're talking about our crypto apps, we're also talking about people owning their keys, and a wrong button could, drain their wallet, so to speak. So are we really at a point where we should be thinking about user experience and usability and all that stuff? Or is the technology not there yet from the security point of view, let's say smart account abstraction, whatever, all that type of stuff?
Yeah, it's a great question. Security, like I said in the beginning, where design can help, it's educating in security. We've never designed for security. Like it's almost never the reason to do that. And one good example is that we did a shitty job in Web 2. So the user password thing that we are used to it's really bad. So there's a bunch of scams and hacks and things going on in the Web 2 as well, and probably we don't think of, like we just think about Web 3 because it requires funds, it has value attached to it. But how many big companies have been under like hacking and being, like security itself is a problem for the whole scope, not just for this. But for this specifically, design can help. And we should have a design thread, a specific design thread to help understand where is, up until when the user needs to know where's the risk, up until when a key it's portrayed as a key, up until when account abstraction can help, in which cases, how can we show, what can we show, what's the flow, like even the spinning and keeping like the screen that you say, this is the 12 key, store it. Like, that's daunting, like, woof. You're scaring the user right in front of them. Might not the best one, but it's the best one that you have right now. So we're going to be better with time, but design can help. So please get a designer in the room as fast as possible. Like hire designers, be with them. I don't know. I'm just advocating for them, probably for my own species. Work with them. They will improve the flow for sure.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Nuno. A round of applause once more to Nuno from Ethereum Foundation.